Stand up and welcome to Simple Man Radio. It's a new channel Bobby approached me with. I've always liked what Bobby's doing over there on Talking Giants. I think he's got a great channel. It's not going to be Giants specific. Obviously, I know a lot of people in the chat are going to think we're talking exclusively Giants, being that we're Giants channels pretty much for the most part. Obviously, I'm a Knicks fan. I stream the Knicks games. But it's going to be centered around mainly New York sports. Whether it be the Knicks, the Nets, the Mets, the Yankees. I'm sure we'll get into baseball talk as that gets more relevant. Giants, Jets, but then also it's going to be centered around, major storylines in sports. For instance, the playoffs are coming up. Today we're going to talk about Anthony Lynn with the Chargers moving on from him. But really looking forward to this channel, Bobby. I think you do a great job, and I've been wanting to talk more about broad sports for a while, specifically in the New York area. So if you guys are interested, the link is in the description below. Next week, we're going to be doing it every Tuesday and Thursday. So I think Thursday, Bobby, right?
Well, it'll be every Monday, every weekday it'll be at 11, but me and you will be Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Right.
So,
but on Thursday it's going to be on that channel, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So like Bobby said, he's doing it every day. Me and him specifically are doing it Tuesdays and Thursdays. And next time we work together on Thursday, it'll be on that channel. So go into the link in the description and subscribe. It's going to be a lot of fun, Bobby. What's going on, my man?
Not much, man. Bringing Simple Man Radio back from the dead, which is, it has a long controversial history, but it's back. I'm glad. Like I said, I eventually I want it to be Justin, but I approach you because I like what like what you do. I think we're both two down the earth guys, simple men, as the show title says. And I think it's going to be fun. I can talk Nets a little more. You could talk Knicks a little more. When baseball starts, I could be the Yankee guy while you're the Mets guy. So I think it's going to be fun. And then we got some news today. And I know you said, and we said we're not doing mostly Giants, but Joe Judge, that's the national storyline right now.
Yeah, there's a lot to talk about with the Giants. We could get into it, but Gettleman's back, and Garrett, which I'm sure we'll tie into the Lynn thing. But yeah, Joe Judge is a huge story. And yesterday I was on Twitter, and I got added by 20 people. And I'm sure you get the same thing whenever there's a big story. And I watched the video, and I didn't get any of the context. And I think a lot of people jumped on it without actually watching the video. They just saw the title, and they said to themselves, "Oh, the Giants are crying about the Eagles, not winning the game for them to get them in the playoffs. Why are you crying? 6 wins, so on and so forth." But what Judge had to say was spot on. I made a video on it yesterday, Bobby, before I saw it, and it was almost like he watched my video before. He basically everything I said, he said, and I agreed with everything he had to say. I thought it was completely disrespectful to the players on the Eagles football team. That was what it was, more so than anything else for me. And Judge went on to talk about that with all the, with the pandemic and everything else, everything that they had to overcome throughout the season. And for him to quit on the team the way in which he did, I think that was the biggest thing that I took from it. And as a Giants fan, I am thrilled because now I imagine he's probably going to be back because I think ownership gave him the go-ahead. I think ownership said, you do what you got to do. Otherwise, it doesn't make much sense. Is he coaching to try to lose his job? So I'm thrilled because I think he lost that locker room, Bobby.
Yeah, that's what people aren't bringing up. This isn't everyone's using these false equivalencies, Chris, of oh, well, the Chiefs benched their starters and the Steelers benched their starters. Yeah, to win in the playoffs. They did it to win. They didn't do it because they're all we don't care about winning games. They did it to win in the playoffs. That makes more sense. And I get if you want to keep guys healthy, then don't play them, which the Eagles basically did. But to bench a guy in the fourth quarter can screw up a relationship. And we heard all the stories that are coming out. I feel like the media is ignoring. They're saying oh, the Giants are crying. Look at the Eagles players. The Eagles players are the ones that are the most pissed off. And then what Joe Judge said was right. Joe Judge wasn't even saying necessarily going after the Eagles as much as he's just having his guys back. And he's we'll never do that. I promise my players that I will never try and lose a game. I will never do that. And a coach is supposed to have the players back, not ownership's back. Have your players back. And Peterson showed that he doesn't. So does this mean Jalen Hurts is going to go out there and tank it on purpose next year to spite Doug Peterson? But it just means that, if things go bad, that it's probably going to go bad a lot faster. And, they say Rome's not built in a day. It didn't fall down in a day either. And this is, to me, is a big chip against Doug Peterson in that locker room.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think Doug Peterson's a horrible coach to begin with. I've thought that all year. I watched the games, and I think this just makes matters that much worse for the Philadelphia Eagles. And I'm thrilled that Joe Judge is our coach. Watching him give that speech, it made me want to run through a wall. And I say it all the time, but it's the truth. I love Joe Judge, and everything he said held true. And I think it's how New York Giants fans feel. It wasn't. I mean, some Giants fans are just pissed because they tanked, which I get. We missed the playoffs, but we put ourselves in that situation. Like, I'm not gonna cry about that, Bobby. We won 6 games.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not going to cry about that. We lost 3 straight at the end of the year. We had an opportunity to control our own destiny. For me, it's not about that. It's about, for me, the positive I take out of this. One, I think it gives the players on our team a little extra juice, a little extra motivation going into the Eagles games next year. Like, they're going to come in extra motivated. But the bigger take I took from it was you listen to Kelsey in the post game video. You hear the stories that came out about the Eagles players after that game. And if Peterson stays on, and you're a former player, used to be an offensive lineman, you tell me, if you had a coach do that to you after you put in all the work that you did for him throughout the entire year with all this, everything going around right now in the world with the pandemic and everything else, how would you feel?
Yeah, I would be pissed off, especially with the way that year went. And here's where I'm getting annoyed is I'm so tired of media like pretending like they know like that feeling. Like I feel like they've forgotten the point of view of the Eagles. Like people like, oh, don't tell the Giants or don't tell the Giants. Like don't tell the Eagles players who are literally pissed off and like had to be held back from going after Doug Peterson and and I don't know who your least favorite guy in the media. Mine might be Jeff Schwartz, dude. He is so annoying and arrogant. And what's funny is he's going off on the Giants about like the people being mad, like, oh, it's a meaningless game. It's a meaningless game. Do you remember who like was attacking Bobby Hart and Eric Flowers for quitting in weeks 17 of 2017? Like, remember they cut Bobby Hart in the final week and they wanted to cut Eric Flowers because those guys basically checked out for the last game going into it.
I can't remember who.
It was Jeff Schwartz. Jeff Schwartz was attacking those guys, talking about how they're lazy and blah, blah, and they don't care. So, Jeff Schwartz, why is it bad for a player to do that? And then but a coach does it and it's totally cool. Like, the coach has to have his players back. And that's what Joe Judge did with his words yesterday. Like, that was more of him having his players backs and being like, we will never do that. Like, fine, cool. They did what they did, but we will never do that.
Yeah, and as a Giants fan, and I just think as a football fan in general, you should love what Joe Judge had to say, and that's kind of what Peter says right here. He says, "Judge being the judge, love it." And Andrew, man, what's going on, man? Thank you so much.
Hi,
man.
Andrew.
He says hi. That's his infamous thing, isn't he? He says hi.
Yeah, he does it on our videos too. I love Andrew.
Andrew's the man. But I just love where we're at as an organization, as a New York Giant fan, because I think he knows what he's doing, and I think he represents New York Giants values very well.
Yeah.
And I couldn't have said it better myself.
I've been critical of Judge at times, not like overly, but like that just kind of wrapped me back in. It's like that's why I love Joe Judge. Yeah. Do you have anything like crazy? Because we might have some breaking news on the show, Chris.
We got breaking news. What do we got?
Breaking news. Browns COVID outbreak continues. Head coach Kevin Stefanski, 2 other coaches and 2 players have COVID issues. Sources tell ESPN.
Oh my God!
The Browns make the playoffs.
Make this up.
They make the playoffs for the first time in 20 years, and their coach has COVID. Who becomes their head coach? Chad O'Shea? I would think it would be O'Shea. And that's the guy that I think the Giants may be looking at as an OC. We'll see. I think they are too.
Yeah, we'll get more into that in the offseason if they decide to move on from Garrett. But it might be O'Shea. O'Shea, the former offensive coordinator last year. Derek, man, thank you for the dollar donation. But we'll see. But that's crazy. And I didn't even think about that, Bobby, with everything that's going on right now in the NFL world. That's going to affect the playoffs. That's bound to happen. It happens every week that a team gets COVID. In some way, shape, or form, and you're already seeing it affect the Browns, a team that hasn't been in the playoffs forever, going up against their arch rival, the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think it's good. Matter of fact, I was ready to pick the Browns. I think the Steelers were favored by 3.5. I was ready to pick the Browns outright. I don't like the way the Steelers have played down the stretch, but with that, who depending on the players, and obviously if Stefanski's out, that'll tilt things.
I'm going Steelers heavy. Bill Callahan will probably be the coach. He's the O-line coach for them, so he'll probably be he was the interim head coach for Washington last year. So he's got some experience with that. He'll probably be the head coach. But I don't know how much that affects them because they do stuff virtually, and it's not like like when Jason Garrett got COVID, I was like, Jason Garrett didn't get fired. Like he's just not going to be calling the plays, even though they did get more aggressive in that game with Colt McCoy as the quarterback. So I don't think it's going to be the craziest difference in the world, but it definitely is like a big difference.
Stefanski to me, and let's talk about this real quick. I'm curious to get your take on this. I know we got a lot more topics to talk about. And thank you, Hans, for that. Many appreciate it. He says, I think the Eagles players love what Judge said also. I agree with you. It sounded like the Eagles had the same exact take that Judge
Yeah, they did.
But Stefanski, to me, he's in the top 2 or 3 for Coach of the Year. Like, I would go with Flores in the top 3. I'd go with Stefanski. And my pick is that, I don't know why the name escaped me right now. The Bills head coach. What's his name?
It's McDermott. Sean McDermott.
McDermott. He's my pick. But that's the top 3 for me. He's done a terrific job, Stefanski. And you want to talk, you talk schemes all the time with Garrett. Stefanski's got a terrific scheme.
And I watch the Browns every week because for my rookie left tackle video. Yeah. And I love, I've praised Stefanski like crazy. Like he's crazy. Yeah. Okay, so special teams coordinator. Ooh, Mike Prefer will serve as the head coach. I think Bill Callahan may have it too because there is 2 other coaches.
Wow.
So I don't know who Mike Prefer is. So
that is crazy. Right, it's crazy the world we're living in right now. With the pandemic and how that's absolutely going to affect that playoff game.
Okay, let's work. See, Silverman Radio we're allowed to do. So I'm going to workshop a tweet live on air. So I think special teams coaches on the come up. How about that?
Okay.
That sounds like a decent tweet.
Yeah, I like that. With Joe, obviously with our coach Joe Judge and
a segment we did with Danny yesterday, which we don't have to do, is word of the day, and we just searched that name on Twitter and then we harass somebody who used that word. Like yesterday, now we don't have to do this, but yesterday the word of the day was pain. It was recommended by the chat, and someone said, oh, they deleted it. Well, they said something about pain is having to go back to work, and we're like, pain? How about being grateful you have a it's stupid now that I'm explaining it. It's just kind of mean now that I'm explaining it live on air.
Well, that's something that we'll do. We'll do that a lot when we get over to the other channel.
Yeah. We don't want, I don't want your lovely subscribers to be like, this Bobby guy's turning entertainment into a bad person.
Not at all, man. Butcher's Block, man. Thank you so much, Bobby. There's another Bobby, by the way. His name's Bobby.
What's going on, Bob?
He's got a channel over there. He says, I want to see Judge run that score up both times next year. Tanking that way is gutless, nutless, spineless, and straight up disrespectful. Cheers. Bobby, I said in my video yesterday, Judge comes from the school of Belichick. What did Belichick do whenever he got the opportunity? And I think Judge is going to want to make an example out of the Philadelphia Eagles next year if he gets the opportunity. Now, we may not. We may not have a talent.
They got to put it week 1.
Oh, my God. Bobby, I'm doing a tailgate next year. And hopefully, I know you live in the Florida area, but if you can, that'd be great. I already decided that's the game I'm picking. That's our Super Bowl next year. Right?
Yeah.
I cannot wait to go to that football game.
Yeah, that is going to be week 1 is intense no matter who you're playing. They could put us against, the Denver Broncos, and it's week 1 it feels like a war atmosphere. But you put it against the Eagles, and I hope it's in Philly too. By the way, that'll be it'll be like a war zone, especially if we get to have fans. There'll be fights. I'm thinking about, well, maybe this is what I'll do. Our next goal is 1,000 ratings on Apple Podcasts for Talking Giants, and I want to promise something. Maybe it'll be I'll throw batteries at the Eagles players from the stands in Philly, if we can get to 1,000 reviews.
Shake Money, thank you very much, man. Big Dolphins supporter of mine. I'm sure we'll talk about the Dolphins on the other channel, Shake Money. I frequently compare the Giants situation to the Dolphins.
I think it's very similar, to be honest.
Yeah, and he said that I love how the media is already pushing Tua out the door. Great stream. Yeah, thank you very much, man. Shake Money. Bobby's got a great channel. If you haven't checked that out, he's over on Talking Giants, and please subscribe to where I'm going to be working with him 2 days a week over on the new channel. So that's in the description. But yeah, I don't get the Tua thing, Bobby. I always thought that the Dolphins kind of rushed Tua in before they should have. Personally, like Fitzpatrick was playing well. You were in the playoff race, and then it kind of I don't know. I don't think it was the best of ideas. And then they got into a situation where they were trying to make the playoffs. They felt like Tua was holding the team back a little bit, and then they had to bring Fitzpatrick back in. And now the media is going to jump on that, and it's going to become a major storyline. If you're a Miami Dolphins fan, I didn't agree with that, and a lot of people compared it to the situation with Eli Manning when he first got the job in his rookie year. Kurt Warner had the winning record, 5-3. They pull him. The only difference was Eli Manning didn't have that situation where they were playing for playoffs at the end of the year. And a lot of people asked me if it was the same situation, would you have been okay with the Giants putting Kurt Warner back in? And in retrospect, I said no. We saw
Once you
obviously
do it, you got to go for it. Like you can't half-ass it.
that's what I'm saying. And I think they made a mistake on both ends. I think they rushed Tua in, and then I think by them pulling Tua, it now opens this up where people are going to start to talk about him being not ready for the NFL and being a potential bust.
Yeah. Browns get COVID. How about your Knicks, man?
Yeah, we got to jump.
Are the Knicks back?
we got to jump into the Knicks, man. And John says if the Giants were in the same situation next year, help the Eagles, do we tank?
No.
No, we would never tank. And you heard that from Joe Judge yesterday.
Win.
As far as the Knicks go, and Blue comment, what's going on? He says, hey, I think Bobby, the guy's turning into a bad person.
That's the plan. That's the plan, Blue Collar.
It's gonna be fun over on Simple Man Radio. But as far as the Knicks go, man, I'm ecstatic. And when they hired Tom Thibodeau, I kind of compared him to Joe Judge, disciplinarian, taking over a rebuilding team. The Knicks are kind of in the same step in the process that the New York Giants are in. It's kind of the second year of a rebuild in a way, even though we changed coaches. Well, the Giants just changed coaches too. Fizdale to Thibodeau, and I think the Knicks are building the right way, similar to what I think about the Giants. I thought both teams needed a rebuild. Knicks have needed a rebuild for 20 years. But Thibodeau's the type of guy that is going to get the most out of his players. He's always had that. The thing I worry about with Tibbs is he has the reputation, and you're already seeing it with the Knicks, of playing players way too many minutes.
You guys had an 8-man rotation in the first 10 games of the season. That to me is kind of I'm right there with you. Like, and I'm a Nets fan, but I'm just not a Knicks hater. Maybe if you guys got like really good consistency, like I probably would turn into it because there's way more Knicks fans than Nets fans. But that's my worry for the Knicks is like, yes, I think Thibodeau, like you said, will get the best out of them in the short term. My worry is long term. How does it work? But I mean, like I said, and right now you can't complain. Like, and they're also a pretty young team to where, an 8-man rotation isn't the worst thing in the world. And I know they're not going to play 8 guys every night, but it is a young team for Thibs where it'd be one thing if it was, an older team with like a lot of stars, or like star mentalities to deal with.
Yeah, but you look at Barrett's minutes, and I think it is concerning. And Lucas, man, thank you very much. He says, Payne, I impregnated Satan twice. What's going on, Lucas, man? Thanks for popping into the stream. You look at you look at the minutes by RJ Barrett. He's playing like 44 minutes a game. Julius Randle, the same thing. So I think it is concerning. But by the same token, you bring up the 8-man rotation. The Knicks also have injuries. Like Obi Toppin isn't playing right now.
Yeah,
Frank Ntilikina is not playing right now. And even last night, Nerlens Noel had an injury right before the game started. So I think that has something to do with it. I think hopefully when they get these players back, maybe Tibbs knocks the minutes down from 44 to 38 or 39. But that's the one concern I could have if I'm nitpicking right now with the Knicks. But overall, as a Knicks fan right now, you got to be ecstatic. I mean, coming into the year, they had us on the over-unders 22 wins, 22 and a half. And we don't know yet. We could completely fall on our faces. We're only 7 games in. We're not even 10% into the season. But we have some impressive wins, Bobby. I mean, you beat Milwaukee, maybe the best team in the East. I'm not trying to knock your Nets.
No, you're good. Say with a chest.
You win at Indiana, another playoff team, another really good team. And then last night, the Hawks come in at 4-2, and you win in Atlanta, and they're up by like 16 points in the late third quarter. And RJ Barrett looks terrific. Probably his second best game of the year. It's back-to-back good games, which is important for me with Barrett. I need to start to see more consistency from him. He's a young player. You expect to have the ebbs and flows, but it was nice to see Barrett have a good back-to-back performance. But the guy I really want to talk about, Bobby, and a guy that Knicks fans are really excited about, is Emmanuel Quickly. And
Yes.
we get him at 24th overall. This guy's been awesome. He's been awesome. He was the guy that, him and Austin Rivers, who was an underrated signing as well by the Knicks, who had a couple of big threes. But Emmanuel Quickly has been a very pleasant surprise for the New York Knicks.
Yeah, and what I liked is because I don't like Elfrid Payton. Like I live in Orlando. I was, so I watched him a lot in his Orlando Magic days, and I think Knicks fans hate him too. Like I am not a fan of Elfrid Payton at all. But what I liked is that Thibs had Quickly on the floor to close out last night. Like it's it was a weird lineup to close with, but like you said, you guys are dealing with injuries of Quickly, Rivers, and then Barrett, and then obviously Randall and Robinson in the front court. But I like that about Tom Thibodeau is that he let Quickly close the game instead of trying to bring in the starter and Payton back out.
Yeah, exactly. He made the adjustments. Austin Rivers as well closed out the game. But Quickly, I love the pick when they made it. Out of Kentucky, we still don't know what he's going to be, right? He's still, new. I don't want to overreact. But the Knicks, the one thing they needed more so than anything else coming into this year was shooters. We can't shoot. We still can't shoot. We were 7 of 21 from 3. And in the modern day NBA, you got to be able to shoot to win basketball games. So we're still not there yet. We still definitely need shooters. But that guy could shoot. He shot 93% from the free throw line with Kentucky last year. That's nothing to sneeze at. The guy could shoot from 3. He also, and I know it's his initials, but he has very high IQ in terms of basketball IQ. You could see it on the basketball court. He was going out of his way last night to try to draw fouls from behind the three-point line, and he eventually did it. But I'm a big fan of Emmanuel Quickly. And I'm a big fan of where the New York Knicks are headed. I think Leon Rose did a really good job this offseason. And I think the Knicks are really doing this rebuild properly. And I'm excited to see where it's going to take them.
Yeah, I mean, it's in the beginning stages. Here's what I'll add, and we're going to talk a lot about the Knicks on this show, is you mentioned the shooting. Like Randall and RJ Barrett both had great nights, but I think they were combined like 1 of 11 for 3 or 1 of 10.
Yeah.
Randall had an awesome game last night, but he takes bad shots, and he seems like he's just out. Even like he'll have an assist, but it seems like he goes up in the air not knowing what he's going to do, and he gets it out. So sometimes it looks ugly. That's my worry, is that like while Randall has like looked pretty good, is that it will like go bad towards the end of the season, and they'll get like aggravated at some of the bad shots he takes. But he was making them all last night.
Yeah, the other thing I'll talk about Randall, and I mean, statistically, he was unbelievable. I think he had 28 points, 17 rebounds, 9 assists, I think it was. But the thing I worry about with Randall, you saw it late in the game. We talk about high IQ, low IQ. Guy was making stupid turnovers. He had 7 turnovers in the game. Down the stretch, he was making silly turnovers. And I am still a believer. I was a believer going into the year that if the right deal presents itself, you're going to trade Julius Randle. And Knicks fans may not want to hear that right now. And maybe that won't be the case. Maybe he'll continue to do this. He'll be this Amari Stoudemire-like type player, because that's kind of what it's reminding me of. Amari Stoudemire, the first year here, he went on that unbelievable stretch. He had like 10 straight games at 30 points or more. He set a Knicks record, whatever it was. I don't remember. But it seems like that now with Randle. He's putting up numbers every night. And maybe the Knicks decide to keep him. Maybe they go with him in the future. I was of the mindset they were going to try to trade him for draft capital midseason because it's a team option at the end of the year, and maybe they weren't going to bring him back. And if he continues to play this well, it's only going to up his trade value. But he makes silly plays down the stretch of that game last night. Barrett, the other thing I want to harp on last night, he didn't turn the ball over once. The guy played 44 minutes, didn't commit 1 turnover. So he is really showing progress, and I see the confidence in his game at the free throw line. Last year, I don't even know what his stats are at the free throw line, but you can just see the confidence. It just looks like he's more confident in what he's doing on the basketball court.
Yeah, and he's doing, I didn't watch the full game. I watched, the fourth quarter and then the highlights afterwards. But yeah, RJ Barrett looks good. He's a player where I can't really tell what his ceiling is. Like I don't think he's, I don't think he's ever going to be like a perennial all-star, but it's like, can he be a guy who makes, 3 all-star games, or is he a guy who makes 1 but is like consistently good? It's hard for me to get a read on RJ Barrett. I also don't watch him as much as a Knicks fan, so yeah,
he's tough to read. I think he fits the modern day NBA pretty well. He's got to get a better jump shot. He's got to get better from behind the 3. He's got to get better from the free throw line. But his player comparison coming in, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that he's a lefty, was James Harden. And a lot of it had to do with the fact that he has really good body control around the rim. He creates a lot of contact. He gets to the charity stripe. And I think as he becomes a better free throw shooter, you're going to see his points go up. You're going to see him become a more efficient scorer. And I'm not saying he's going to be James Harden. Like, that's, you're talking about an MVP. You're talking about one of the top 5 players in the league. But I think he's gonna be an all-star. And I think he could definitely be a 1A on a really good basketball team. And I think and we'll see with Toppin. I'm excited for Toppin. I think Toppin might be the most exciting rookie in this year's class.
Yeah, I mean, who LaMelo? I think NBA Twitter can get annoying, but I do see their point with like ESPN will like post like all these LaMelo highlights, and it's like he went 0 for 8 from the field. It's like, but he did one cool pass, and they'll do his highlights. How is Anthony Edwards doing in Minnesota? I was kind of excited for that. I'm a big Wiseman fan. I don't know why people had like Wiseman way down their boards, and I thought he went to the perfect place with Golden State.
Perfect.
I think he'll end up winning Rookie of the Year. With
I don't know. I don't know how he's doing. Like I said, I really, and I'm going to try to
play good in that first game versus the Nets. I haven't watched them since.
Yeah, I'm going to try to follow the Nets more since we're doing the show. But Wiseman, I thought it was a perfect fit. You're talking about a team with unbelievable guard play. They could shoot the threes. You come in, you bring in a big man like Wiseman. I thought it was a really good fit. And Golden State obviously was very fortunate to be picking as high as they are. And they may very well win the Western Conference. I don't know how they're doing right now, but they definitely have the talent on that team. They have the playoff pedigree. And then you bring in a guy like Wiseman, you get healthy. They're a team that I think people kind of aren't talking enough about. Everybody's Lakers. Golden State may surprise people.
Yeah, and people, Steph reminded everybody with that 62-point game on Sunday night, especially against the Blazers. Like, that's what pissed me off last year in the playoffs. Like, Dame's greater than Steph. It's like Steph, without KD, swept Dame and outscored him by like 10 points per game in the Western Conference Finals a year ago. Like, let's not forget that because their entire Warriors team was injured this year.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't got much on the Nets. Like KD, he's out for 7 days because of quarantine. That sucks. It sucks that he was like the first NBA player to get COVID besides the Utah Jazz, and then he's back missing 7 games. So I just, as the Nets fan, like the regular season, there's not going to be a ton that can bother me. Like the only player that could really bother me probably would be Spencer Dinwiddie, and he's injured. I wanted to trade Dinwiddie because I feel like having him is kind of redundant, especially with Karis LeVert as the 6th man. But we'll talk more Nets. I don't have any hot Nets takes today. It just sucks KD's out 7 days.
Yeah, as far as your Nets go, I just want to address this real quick so I don't lose it, man. Eric, man, thank you for being a great supporter of the channel. He says, if Garrett and Graham get the head coaching job, who would you like at offense coordinator and defensive coordinator? I'm going to make a video on that later today, Eric, so I'll give my full opinion. But, Bobby, I'll tell you right now, we just talked about one of them on the Browns. So
Chad O'Shea.
Yeah,
Ken Dorsey, although it's not realistic, but I love him.
And then if they're going to hire in-house, I think the obvious answer is Kitchens. I mean, he's the guy that took over for him in season. I think that would be the obvious answer. But I'll talk more about it. As far as the defensive coordinator, I got to look more into that. I got to do more research. I don't know. But what I'm going to say is I think Joe Judge is smart enough that he will have a contingency plan. Like, I don't think he's a guy that's going to go into a season unprepared. Like, he's not stupid. Like, the best teams, the teams that hire good coaching staffs, eventually they lose their coaches.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Joe Judge has a contingency plan. I'm sure he has a guy in mind that he wants to promote either from within the organization or from the outside. And I think he'll bring in the right guy. I trust Judge. I think he organized a great staff this year. And if we do happen to lose Graham, as much as it would suck, I think Graham did a great job. And who knows? We may or may not. That could be a Rooney Rule thing. We'll see. I think I have confidence in Judge to bring in a good defensive coordinator.
Well, speaking of coordinators, the Chargers fired Anthony Lynn, and now they're interviewing Jason Garrett.
That was a great segue.
It is, and I'm not really a segue guy, but that was a great segue. I'll pat myself on the back for that one. They're interviewing Garrett, Brian Dabble, Eberflus, Arthur Smith, and Joe Brady. I mean, to me, the fact that they're bringing Garrett in alone is nuts. But like he, to me, is like clearly on a much lower level than all. Like I love Dabble. They have to get Dabble or Arthur Smith. They can't make the same mistakes the New York Giants did, where they have a losing season, but the coach and the QB seem to work together well. Like Patrick, like the Giant. I look at the Chargers
it's
and the 2019 Giants.
Carbon copy.
It's the exact same thing. It's the exact same thing where it's like you love what they do with the QB, but he's not a head coach. That's what and I know Anthony Lynn has Steve. I think Sykes is OC, so it's a little different where Patrick was calling plays, but they have to get someone who fits that well. And to me, it's Brian Dabble, who worked with Josh Allen, who's a similar play, like aggressive downfield vertical, or Arthur Smith, who worked with Ryan Tannehill. They can't make this. If they make the same mistake at us, I will celebrate it because it means we don't have Jason Garrett. But there's no way they can make that same mistake, right? Although Jason Garrett he may knock the interview out of the room, or out of the park. But good Lord, like you read all those names and you're like, good, and then a Jason Garrett. Oh my God.
Yeah, well, I'm not surprised. I've definitely going more on your side. I think I was defending Garrett a lot early in the season, and I still think Garrett is not the full problem with the offense, but we don't need to get into that conversation. But I don't love his offense. I agree with you on that. And the Giants' offense definitely regressed this year. I think some of it has to do with him. I think some of it has to do with the fact that Barkley went down. I think there's other factors, but he has a lot to do with it. But the thing with Garrett that I'm not surprised he's getting an interview, as much as people laugh about him and they call him the clapper. And, he didn't have the greatest reputation in Dallas. He was known as an underachiever. The Cowboys fans wanted to get him out of there forever. Regardless, Bobby, the results say he was successful. I mean, Dallas, while he was there, I think only had one season under 500. He won Coach of the Year, I think, twice. And he had winning results. And in terms of an offensive mind, as much as we're going to knock him, maybe the Chargers look at him as a guy that got the most out of young quarterbacks with guys like Dak Prescott and guys like
sure hope so.
Tony Romo. And
look at Daniel Jones' PFF grade. Look how much it improved. Come on, look at that, Chargers.
Chargers, if you're watching, for everybody that wants to get rid of Jason Garrett. But we'll see what happens. But I'm not surprised he's getting interviews. Like, if you would have told me Garrett was going to get interviews at the end of the year, I would say, yeah, I think teams will give him interviews. Will he get the job? I mean, that's not the trend of the NFL right now. And like we were saying before we went live, some teams hire retreads. You look at Washington, they hired a retread. You look at Dallas, they hired a retread. But the hot new thing is to try to get that young, innovative offensive mind. And you look at Brady; he's on that list. He's a guy that was thought to be a young, hot, innovative offensive mind coming into the year. Stefanski, obviously a very big success with the Cleveland Browns this year. And you got a young quarterback in Herbert. And I know obviously Garrett is more offensively driven. He's a former quarterback, former offensive coordinator. So I see the link there. But in the end, do I think he'll get the job? Probably not. I'd be surprised.
Who do you think is the best guy for them? You got Brian Dowell, Garrett, Matt Eberflus, the Colts defensive coordinator, Arthur Smith's offensive coordinator for the Titans, and then Joe Brady, the Panthers OC. Who do you think is the best? I would go
Dabble.
To me, it's between Dabble or Arthur Smith. Dabble's been around for a long time. I love what the Bills and the Titans are doing. So I go Dabble too because of the jump we saw with Josh Allen. Hope you can, and then you can hope that maybe you get Ken Dorsey, the QB coach, to come over and be the OC with them if he doesn't stay with Buffalo. So yeah, I think I go Dabble too, but Arthur Smith, it's close. I love what the Titans are doing, but the Titans have a really good roster, and I like what everyone said last year with Josh Allen, oh, look at the wide receivers. Their wide receivers weren't good. Their best wide receiver was John Brown and then Cole Beasley.
Yeah.
And they had a rookie 4th round tight end in Dawson. It wasn't a good roster. Their running back was Frank Gore and Devin Singletary. It wasn't some amazing roster put around Josh Allen.
They were built around the defense.
Yeah. And then they add Stephon Diggs, and then it just takes that next step. So the Chargers, who are a team that they don't have an O-line, but they've got their QB. They've got some really good wide receivers and some young guys who can fill out the depth there. I would go and get a guy like Brian Dabble, who seemed to do more with less, where the Titans, the Titans have a freaking team. Their O-line's good. You got Tannehill back there.
Stacked.
Derrick Henry ran for 2,000 yards. That was the most quiet 2,000 yards of all time. And you got A.J. Brown, Corey Davis on the outside. So Dabble's the guy for me.
I was streaming the Sunday night game, and somebody told me Henry ran for 2,000 yards, and I was like, really? He's only the 8th running back ever to do it, I think, and nobody talked about it. He's got to be in consideration for the MVP award. He won't get it. I think it's obviously Aaron Rodgers, but he'll probably finish top 3 or 4. But Josh Allen's got to be up there too. Josh Allen is one of my favorite players in the NFL. I don't know what your take is on him, but he's the type of quarterback I really like. He's got, and he needed to work on things, and you saw him, and obviously you alluded to Diggs, and Diggs obviously had a lot to do with that. He also worked on his mechanics this offseason. But Josh Allen is fun to watch, man. I can't wait to see what he does in the playoffs this year.
Yeah, and I wasn't originally in the draft. I wasn't a Josh Allen fan, but I'm a huge Josh Allen. Last year, I became more of a fan as the season went along, And it always bothered me, like in this past offseason, when people were still arguing Sam Darnold's better than Josh Allen. It's like, he's not. Like, I
He's
get
not
you
even
liked him in the
close.
draft, but like, look at what they are doing in the NFL. Although I do hate what the Jets did to Darnold.
Oh, they screwed him. Oh, they screwed him.
We talked about it yesterday. They screwed that up. Like, even if they, like, you could make an argument that they should move on and get a new QB but they screwed him up. I hope the Giants don't do the same to Jones. You want to do our quick picks and then we'll finish off answering some chats real quick?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll get to those super chats right after. We'll do the quick picks. Go ahead.
I got Bulls plus 9.5. The Bulls aren't good this year over the Blazers, but they just came off of a 10-point win versus Dallas, who's a team with a lot of offense and no defense, similar to the Blazers, although the Blazers are probably a little worse offensively, better defensively. And the Blazers, I mean, their last 6 games, Warriors on a bet 2 games in a row, Clippers, Lakers, Rockets, Jazz. Well, they're only 6 games. Like, they've had a rough schedule. So this is a letdown game. I think the Blazers will win, but I think the Bulls will cover that 9.5.
I'm going to go, and I didn't do nearly as much research as you because I was initially going to do a football game, and then I was like, all right, maybe I should do something, closer to today. So we'll do the NBA game. The football game, I'll talk about that on Thursday. But I'm gonna go basketball as well. And I'm not doing it because you're a Nets fan.
You should do that. Just every game pick against the Nets.
I'm doing it because Kevin Durant's got COVID. You got a couple injuries. The Jazz are on the road, and I'm hoping you guys win. Well, I don't know if I want to root for the Nets. You guys are in the same division, but I hope you guys beat up on the Jazz because we got them coming up. So I think they got a back-to-back. So we'll see how they do there. But without Durant, I am gonna take the Utah Jazz, even though they're on the road, minus 4.5 against the Brooklyn Nets. I just think without Durant, you guys are a completely different team, and the Jazz have a lot of talent. So I'm going to take the Jazz minus 4.5.
Yeah, we're really bad defensively, and then you take Kevin Durant, and it just makes it worse. And you could tell this team doesn't care a ton about, like, you could tell they care about the big matchups, but they're not like really dialed in on the lesser matchup. Which I guess the Jazz are a bigger matchup, but yeah, without KD. So cool. All right, so you're gonna go 0-1, and I'll go 1-0. That works.
Thursday will be a lot of fun because I'm sure we'll get to talk a lot more about the playoff matchups, the spreads, and I'm really looking forward to that. But yeah, we'll see how we do. We'll keep track of it. We'll see who does better against the spread.
Sounds good. All right, let's finish off with some chats.
Yeah, let's talk to some of the best supporters on YouTube. Some of our best, man. Nick, man, thank you so much, man. He says the away tailgate should be in Philly. Listen, I'm gonna tell you right now, Nick. I don't know if it's gonna be away. The only thing I worry about, Nick, if I have that tailgate away next year, it's gonna get, like Bobby said, that it's gonna get violent in Philadelphia.
Oh, it is, and that's why I can't go because I just know, like, I'll be like, I'm not going. I can't go to Philly. It'll end bad. Someone in the chat leave me a word of the day, and then so while we're answering these super chats, I'll do the word of the day thing.
All right, so somebody give Bobby a word of the day. Thank you. By the way, I want to say thank you to all you guys. I always try to do that whenever I can. Thank you guys for being the best supporters on YouTube. And anybody that may just be popping in, make sure you go into the description. I'm going to be on Bobby's channel twice a week. We're going to be doing about a 45-minute hour show, whatever it may be. And we're gonna be talking broad sports. It's going to focus predominantly on New York sports.
Broads and sports.
And we're both huge Giants fans. So we're always going to sprinkle on the Giants if there's anything to talk about. But we're gonna sprinkle on the Knicks. We're gonna sprinkle on the Nets, Mets, Yankees. Let's talk real quick about the Yankees because I've never gotten your opinion. Let's not even talk about the team coming up. What made you become a New York Yankees fan?
I was just born into it. My dad's not a big sports fan, but he was a Yankees fan. My dad is one of 8 kids, and they're literally it's a family split. It seems like all the bad kids in the family were Yankees fans, and all the good kids were Mets fans. So like, 2 of my uncles are Yankees fans, 2 of them are Mets fans, and then my aunts, I know one is a Yankee. I think they're all Yankees fans, but they're not that big. So it's really a family that's split. But my grandpa's a Mets fan, so I think the bad kids became Yankees fans, and my dad was the worst of the 8 kids, and so I was born into the Yankees.
Also, I'm looking forward to talking baseball. I don't know how big of a baseball fan you are. I'm a huge Mets fan, but I'm looking forward to it. Jared says Emmanuel quickly is the real deal. Jared, so far, so good, man. He's definitely been a bright spot and looks to be part of the rebuilding process for the New York Knicks. I think they got a home run out of Kentucky. And I couldn't believe he won SEC Player of the Year. I didn't even know that. But yeah, really good pick by the Knicks at 24. But thank you very much, man. I really appreciate it, buddy. Let's get to the next one here. Blue Collar. He says, Bobby, are you a hockey fan?
No, I'm a Devils fan.
You're a Devils fan?
Yeah.
Well, you're from Jersey.
Yeah.
Let me ask you about the Nets. And obviously, I completely understand why you're a Nets fan. You're from New Jersey. All of a sudden, I lived in Brooklyn for like 2.5 years. I never saw any Brooklyn hats. All of a sudden, they're the hot team of the month. How do you feel about all these bandwagon fans jumping over to the Brooklyn Nets?
I mean, bandwagon means your team is good, so I feel good. But I'm a New Jersey Nets fan. Like I have all my Nets gear, New Jersey Nets gear. Although I will buy gear this year because of those blue jerseys, the throwbacks to the New Jersey. I will buy those because they're a throwback to New Jersey, and that when they moved to Brooklyn, a little bit of my heart left with New Jersey. Like I want to win a basketball championship so bad with the Nets, like so badly. Like I don't even like Kyrie, but I know he can win us a championship with Kevin Durant. But my favorite Nets team will always be the Jason Kidd teams. Like they'll win me a championship, but those will always be my team. Plus, I was in like middle school during those days, so it's like the height of your sports fandom.
The Jason Kidd teams were fun. You had Richard Jefferson, you had Kenyon Martin, you had
Gary
Kittles.
Kittles. I mean,
was Sherman Douglas on that team? Did I make that up?
Yeah.
Yeah. But that was a really, really fun team. I remember I was a Knicks fan, but I remember you guys went to back-to-back finals. I think you got swept or lost in 5.
We got swept the year to the Lakers, and then the next year we were down 3-2 to the Spurs, led the entire game 6, up by 10, and they go on a 19-0 run in the fourth quarter on Father's Day. David Robinson. I mean, that's my worst sports memory. So
sorry for bringing it up.
But I will say I did root for the Knicks the year they had Jason Kidd, Kenyon Martin, and I remember in the playoffs they had an alley-oop to each other. Jason Kidd had an alley-oop to Kenyon Martin, and I've never been so happy with one Knicks possession as I was that one.
I'm gonna tell you what, Bobby. Jason Kidd is one of the most underrated players in the history of the NBA.
He's the top 3 point guard of all time.
Jason Kidd on that New York Knicks team. Yeah, obviously Carmelo Anthony was great that year, right? He won the scoring title. The most important player in that team was Jason Kidd. He didn't, he only played 20 minutes. He set that team up. He orchestrated the offense. Jason Kidd is one of the highest. He is probably the highest IQ player I've ever seen.
It's unreal. It's unreal. I mean, everyone that plays with him talks about it. Like Brian Scalabrine is like he made me so much money.
Yeah.
It's crazy how much better he made everybody around him. He's I'm definitely biased, but he's a top 5 point guard. You got Magic, Stockton. I think he's better than
Stockton, Thomas.
Thomas. I think he's better than Steve Nash.
Curry,
you put ahead of him. I mean, I just think he's a top 5 point guard of all time.
He's great. He's fantastic.
And then he got his championship with Dallas, which made me happy. So
yeah,
he's a bad head coach, but I always said like that he's like a lot of Giants fans like Odell like could do no wrong in their eyes. That's what Jason Kidd is for me. Like he could be the worst head coach in the world. I will still love Jason Kidd, and I would love for him to be my coach, even though he's a bad head coach.
That's the most ironic thing. He's like the smartest guy ever, but he's been a horrible head coach. And I remember his rookie year. Was he coaching the Nets? His first.
Yeah,
Yeah. With when he spilt the soda on the floor. Remember that?
He thought that was so genius, and they fined his ass for it. He's like, no one's ever thought of this before. Like, I'm getting myself a timeout right here.
Yeah. That was hilarious. And Farninkle, man, thank you so much, man. Giants missed the playoffs because not enough monkey gunk, baby. All right, that's one of my trolls, but I appreciate the $2 donation. JB says, I was shaky on Tibbs, but he's doing a great job. Yeah, a lot of Knicks fans, JB, didn't like that. They wanted your old coach, actually.
Kenny Atkinson?
Yeah.
I think he would have been that's who I wanted for you guys, too.
Yeah, because he was known to be really good with young players. But Thibodeau, so far, so good. I'm not going to get carried away yet, but so far, so good. I like the hire. I think he fits the direction of the team. JB12 says, please look at Phil Longo. He would be perfect here.
I don't know who that is.
Yeah, JB, I got to look more. You brought him up a couple of times. I got to look into him. But
he's the offensive coordinator, quarterbacks coach for UNC. Oh, I love what UNC is doing. So maybe.
Let me just make sure I didn't skip any of these because sometimes the phone and this are out of sync. Darth Liquor, man, thank you very much, man. He says, when's the next O-line report? He's asking you, Bobby. When's your next O-line report?
The rookie left tackle video is coming out today on the new Talking Football. I know I have like a million channels now. The O-line report, I'm going to get to it when I can, but there's not a priority on it since the season's over right now.
So there you go. And then next up, we got Shake Money. He says, Garrett kept the Cowboys out of the playoffs again.
I love it. Go Jason Garrett.
Yes,
not really,
he did.
though.
Well, you love him for that, though. You got to give him credit for that. You know, not that he deserves it, but we love him that he kept the Cowboys out of the playoffs. Watch Madison, man. Thank you very much. He says, my favorite 2 New York Giants guys. I appreciate that, man. Listen, I love Bobby. The first time I worked with Bobby, he invited me on the podcast with him and Jocelyn. I think they're great together. And, yeah, man, we clicked. At least I thought we clicked. Maybe you didn't think so.
Yeah, hey, we're doing a separate show, not about the Giants. So it's serious. We must like each other at least a little bit.
Yeah.
For now.
Yeah,
maybe
for
this
now.
will like ruin the relationship.
Yeah. Give it a
I'm
month.
sitting here like tweeting at people from the Silverman radio account about battery. Like word of the day, battery. Go search battery, reply to somebody about it.
Battery. Okay. I wonder what's going to come up with that. Lax, man. Thank you very much, man. Midday stream. Listen to Bobby and Tana during work. Gotta love it. Go Giants. Thank you so much, Lax. Yeah, man. I can't wait to cover the Giants in the offseason and talk about free agency, the draft, and obviously the coaching changes. I think that's where we're going to start and figure out where this team is going. But Lax, man, thank you very much, buddy. Davey, my man, he says one word, sportsmanship. And from a practical standpoint, if every bad team tanks in Week 17 becomes the Pro Bowl instead of the best game of the season. Sports becomes a joke. And Bobby, I was looking at the funniest thing to me is the Eagles are picking 6th. They would have been picking 9th if they lost the game. What do you think their biggest need is? Where do you think they're going in the draft? Like what position?
I think it really is wide receiver. I get there's a need for edge, but it's like we had the 9th ranked defense without an edge, you know. So to me, it really is wide receiver.
Okay, and I think the same thing. And if they're going wide receiver, you look at the teams behind them. Denver's got like one of the best receiving corps in the league. They just drafted Jerry Jeudy. They got, they're probably not taking a wide receiver. And who's the other team? Carolina. Carolina's got 3 really good wide receivers. They're not going to take a wide receiver. Detroit, maybe, but they just drafted Hawkinson. And if they re-sign Golladay, which I don't know if they're going to or not, they're probably not going to take a receiver. So if they're going to take a receiver, the most ironic thing about all of it, they probably would have got the same guy at 9 that they're going to take at 6. Only they would have paid him a lot less. And I see Bobby's thumb right now.
I was just redoing I didn't want to redo my hairband on camera.
But that's the most ironic thing to me. They probably would have got the same player, and they would have paid him less.
Yeah, I wasn't stressing about that. Someone asked if there's going to be a Spotify podcast. Yes, it's Search Silverman Radio. As soon as we're done with this, Chris sends me the audio. It'll be on there, so it'll be up by like 12:15.
All right, yeah, I'll do my best to try to send that right away. Zeno says, great idea for the channel. Appreciate the effort and content. Word of the day, reckoning. So I give you another
battery. Next time I'll have to look at the chat more. That's my fault. My fault, Zeno.
Yeah, we'll get it going on Wednesday for you. Watch Medicine, man. Thank you very much, man. Word of the day, Garrett. Noun, plain as in vanilla. Plain. Simple or ordinary in character. Not decorated or elaborate. Hopefully, future Chargers coach.
Get rid of hopefully, and I'll make that the word of the day.
Have you ever hated a coach more than Jason Garrett?
I hated Ben McAdoo for the Eli situation, but just based off of football, no, Jason Garrett takes the cake. I didn't like that. I wish we could get 2 guys I like. Like last year, I liked Shermer as an offensive coordinator. I didn't like Betcher, and then this year, it's like I love Patrick Graham with all my heart, and Garrett, part of it probably has to do that he's dealing with this young QB, and they like kind of ruined like a year or 2 for him.
Yeah, I definitely have. I definitely don't love Garrett, and I know it was a Mara influence decision, and it's why that's the biggest reason. Because I think Judge is getting more control. I think Judge is the biggest reason why Gettleman's still here. I think Judge legitimately likes working with Gettleman, and
I agree.
It makes sense. I think they think alike. I think they're both old school guy. They think in the trenches, so I think it's a good pairing. I think they had a good offseason last year, but I don't think he's a Garrett guy. I just don't. And I do think when he fired Colombo, Garrett probably wasn't happy about it.
No, they didn't. there is something behind the scenes with like there's no way that Garrett was just like cool beans with that.
Yeah, so I think right then and there, they probably, at that point, Garrett's a professional. He's a good guy, class act, and he's going to carry out the season. But you even saw the quotes from Garrett at the end of the year, week 17. They asked him, I think, about next season, and he wanted nothing to do with it. He just said, I'm focused on this game. We got a big game coming up against Dallas. He could have easily said, yeah, I hope I'm back, or at least say I'd be excited to, for the opportunity. He didn't say any of that. And I think Garrett kind of knew going in. He wanted to try to become a head coach again, and we'll see if he gets that opportunity.
All right.
And Waddle is playing in the Natty, future Giants.
Watch him. I very well may be.
What's your opinion on the wide receivers, real quick, of the top three in this year?
Without me actually really watching them, Jamar Chase 1, Devontae Smith 2. Waddle I need to watch.
Waddle. What do you think of Pitts?
I like him. I just don't think we're going tight end in the first round.
Yeah, I agree with you. Unless we trade it down or something like that. I agree. Yeah. I think we're hoping for a wide receiver. But Bobby, probably want to close us out. You got to get this on the podcast.
Appreciate you guys. Appreciate us getting this on Tana's channel. Like he said, link in the description for the new channel, which it will be on going forward. And until tomorrow, stay simple.
I want to say thank you to everybody for tuning in. Hopefully some of y'all go over there tomorrow. I'll be over there tomorrow if I'm up. Well, I will be up, but if I'm free, I'll try to go over there, watch it. But hopefully y'all go over there and subscribe. We're going to be over there every Tuesday and Thursday. And yeah, I'm looking forward to talking sports with Bobby for a while. So it should be a lot of fun. I appreciate you for inviting me on the channel. Yeah, man, I had a lot of fun talking sports with you today, man. Thank you so much for coming on the channel.
Thank you. Stay simple, Chris.
All right, guys. Thank you guys for being the best supporters on YouTube. We'll talk real soon. You guys have a great rest of your day. Just wanted to give you a little promo about what the channel is going to be about. Have a good day, guys.